Hello, welcome to another episode of Feel the Screams podcast. Today we'll be talking about the sixth part of Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Dead. With Freddy Krueger being less of a scary figure and more as kind of a comedic or cool figure that people are buying posters and different merchandise of, they decided to up the ante and turn up the goofs and the laughs up to 11 in this movie. And you can tell right from the beginning, so let's just get talking about it. So as a child, I had never really seen Freddy's Dead. I always saw it in Blockbuster, but I liked Freddy Krueger and I didn't like the title. I was like, no, I really don't want him to die yet. Because whenever I saw the cover of it, I was like, oh man, they really killed Freddy Krueger off in that movie. That's the end of all of it. So, as a kid, I stayed clear of it. I would always rent Dream Warriors or, one of those movies. Eventually, later on, I had a friend at my house, and I'm like, I've never seen this Nightmare on Elm Street movie. You want to check it out? And he was like, yeah, sure. And I looked up the ratings, and the ratings were god-awful. And I was like, oh, man, this one's supposed to be bad. Bad. And he's like, oh, we could always just pop it in. Maybe we'll have a different opinion. And I was like, yeah, maybe that's the case. So we start this movie, and, right from the get-go, the little message it gives us, it tells us that every child and teenager has been killed off in Springwood. So just from the first 2 seconds, you know what kind of movie you're getting into. You're going to have to adjust yourself to believe into this philosophy that every kid and teenager no longer exists in Springwood. There's only one left. So then it cuts to a character named John Doe, who looks about 30. He doesn't even look like a kid. But he's on this airplane, he's trying to escape Springwood, and of course, things collapse. He even looks at the lady next to him, and he's like, I'm afraid of heights. And she's like, don't be such a pussy. And then, the lady gets completely rocketed out of the plane. John Doe falls out, he's fallen down, and then he wakes up. He was dreaming, except he wasn't. His house is actually falling from the sky. And Freddy Krueger shows up at his window, riding a broom, as a playback to Wizard of Oz, and it's actually playing the Wizard of Oz music, and there's the whole thing. His house lands on Elm Street, and then he's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. Well, Freddy hits him with the bus and doesn't kill him. Basically, he's stuck on the front of the bus. This has gone full on Looney Tunes in the first 40 seconds. And Freddy's like, no screaming while the bus is in motion. He's cackling and laughing. Freddy drives him to the border to where he gets launched out and he runs away. And Freddy's whole plot is that he needs to bring more kids and teenagers to Springwood. And that's kind of the plot of this movie. He's using John Doe to get more people to where he can collect their souls. We then meet our other characters of this movie. We have Dr. Maggie Burroughs, who actually does somewhat of an alright job. I don't know, I was like, she would probably do okay if she was actually in a good movie. I don't mind her being in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It just sucks that she had to be in this one. We have one of her patients named Spencer who loves video games. He also has a father that he does not like. Once again, theme in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Maggie's boss is referred to as Doc, which Doc actually knows what's going on with the dream demons, which this whole movie is going to try to break down. We'll get into those dream demons here in a little bit, but Doc actually kind of knows his stuff when it comes to the dream demons. We have Tracy, who likes to do kickboxing, and her entire character, she likes to have rage. It seems like these movies always like to have one of those characters, a character that's just always mad and really rageful. That's Tracy. Then we have Carlos, who's deaf, who has a hearing aid, and sometimes he doesn't use it to tune out people. Classic Carlos. Well, John Doe eventually gets taken to this facility, which he talks to Dr. Maggie. Maggie's trying to talk to him, so what's your name? He's like, I don't know. And she's like, where are you from? I don't know. And he's just mad. He's slamming chairs around. It's really over the top. It's really bad acting. And then we get Maggie, who kind of nods off, and she has a little flashback of a little girl who's like playing in the backyard. She has a father, and you can't really see who her father is, hint, hint. John Doe eventually tells Maggie that he's having the same dream with the little girl, so they decided to go on a little trip to figure out like where he came from, and they take this little van that is like the crappiest van you could possibly find. It has like the words Doom on it. It looks very trashy. I guess they're just trying to put the message in that this facility is not in a very good neighborhood. I don't know. But while they do that, Spencer, Carlos, and Tracy, they like hide in the back of the van because they want to get out of there. And there's like these big curtains that are like hiding them in the back of the van. It's really dumb. But anyways. So they drive to Springwood. John Doe starts hallucinating while they're driving. He sees the little girl and he's like, "No!" and starts grabbing the steering wheel. The van goes out of control. They almost wreck, but the three hiding in the back, their cover gets blown, and Dr. Maggie's just like, "You guys!" But then they go on the trip anyways. Like, well, let's see what's going on in Springwood. And this is when we see the little town fair where there are no children or teenagers. All the adults are acting crazy. It's very just... Ugh. Roseanne is in this part, and so is her husband, Tom Arnold. Why are they in this movie? I don't know. If the company thought that it would be cool to have Roseanne and Tom Arnold in a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I don't know. They thought the fans would go crazy for that, I guess. But yeah, there's no kids or teenagers. The adults are acting completely insane. They go into a classroom, and there's a teacher who is teaching a class where no one is present. And he's just acting out his days of teaching as if he has no other life. Like he's just going up to a chalkboard and just teaching. And no one ever is present. But that's what he does since there's no kids or teenagers. You know, apparently someone still has him on the payroll, so he just teaches an empty room. Yeah. There is one funny part that got a chuckle from me. The three kids that were hiding in the back of the van, Dr. Maggie tells them to go back home. So they start driving, and Freddy starts sending them on a loop to where they keep taking these turns. They end up on the same roads. Nightmare on Elm Street 4 did the same trick, but it was a lot better. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, you're like, oh man, like what's going on? Like, is this movie broke? And then you find out like it's Freddy doing the madness. This movie, it looks like some tutorial video that you would watch in Driver's Ed that's extremely cheap, and the cars are just turning using their turn signal. There's really no... There's nothing special about these scenes. You're just watching like cars turn, and eventually they're like, man, we're going in circles. And so they tell Carlos to look at the map, and the map like explodes out. It's filling up the entire van, and Spencer's like, what the heck's going on, man? I told you to look at the map. And he like holds it up and he goes, well, the map says we're fucked. And literally the map says you're fucked. It got a chuckle out of me, just that little line. It's probably the golden moment of this movie, unfortunately. But yeah. Now let me take you back to the scene with the crazy teacher that is teaching the empty classroom. He gives them like a backstory on how Freddy had a child taken from him, blah, blah, blah. It does matter in this movie. But I want to... Some of the other stuff written on the board, I want to know what it means, because I guess he's talking about the history of Freddy Krueger. So let me just look at this little screenshot I took. So this teacher has a timeline. I'm guessing it's the timeline of detailing Freddy Krueger's life. Either that or maybe Dream Demons, I don't know. But I'll just read to you what it says. Year 0, he is come. Year 1066 aligns with Saxons. Year 1492 sails ocean blue. Year 1812 first kill quotations with cannon. Year 1869 Freddy kills Maxie. Year 1929 the crash. Year 1933 the Munich sightings. Year 1945, Hiroshima and Nagasaki attempts fail. Year 1966, child taken. There's something at the bottom of it. I can't quite read it. In year 1974, I think, Freddy kills Elvis. And then it just says kills. And there's like a ton of them, tally marks and X's all over the place. So just going off of this timeline, it's like, how old is Freddy? You know, we're going all the way back to year 0. And I mean, like, it literally says 1869. Freddy kills someone. I think it's Maxie. 1812, first kill. I'm like, I don't really know what that means. It's like the War of 1812, maybe. And like a lot of these dates are kind of like historical dates, like are nods to historical things happening. And it's like they're trying to shape it into like Freddy's universe and like just how evil he is or how evil these little dream demons are. And it's really black humor where it says, Hiroshima and Nagasaki attempts fail, like as if those bombs were attempts to kill Freddy, maybe? I don't know. And then it just says Freddy kills Elvis. Like, what in the world is this movie doing? Like, my God. If anyone knows what this timeline is hinting at, let me know in the comments, because it's full of nonsense. Anyways, eventually the three rascals that tried to tag along, they decide to break into an abandoned house and sleep. Carlos, he gets a hallucination of his mom who tells him he's not good enough. She gets like a cotton swab that's like a foot long and sticks it through his ear that goes out through the other ear. Kind of gave me a little flashback of COVID, not gonna lie. The gigantic like cotton swab and just like the memories of people getting it shoved up their nose extremely far. Ugh. But yeah, there's that scene. But then he takes Carlos to like a warehouse after he cuts off his ear, of course. So like we kind of get some audio trickery during this scene. Honestly, of all the deaths, Carlos might be the best in this movie. He gives Carlos like a special hearing aid that's like turned all the way up. And he has like these like little pins, and he drops one, and like Freddy's doing funny stuff during this. He's like yelling behind him, waving his hands, hitting stuff, dancing, but Carlos can't hear him yet without the hearing aid. Gives him the hearing aid to where he hears everything. Freddy drops a little pin, Carlos catches it. Then he drops like a ton of pins, which like hurts Carlos a lot. Then Freddy takes like a dry erase board and starts like scratching it and makes Carlos's head explode. And that is, yes, probably the best kill in this movie. But probably by far the weakest of the other movies. Like, man, like this movie's just so far below par. It kills me. Spencer decides to smoke weed during this. And when he smokes weed, like this movie treats it like he like took acid or like LSD. He's like tripping out. He sees Johnny Depp on the TV doing Your Brain on Drugs type commercial or special. And then like Freddy Krueger hits him in the head with the pan and tells him to like keep smoking, bro. Tracy's like had enough of this. She can't find Carlos. She goes and gets the other two, Dr. Maggie and John Doe, which John Doe's like, oh, I think I'm Freddy's kid. And everyone's like, nah, bro, you're probably not. But there is that little subplot of like someone is Freddy's kid. Who is it? It's Kay Krueger. And it's like so vague and non-gender specific. It does make you go like, huh. It's probably someone else. It's probably not John Doe. But yeah, they go back to Spencer, who Freddy brings into the TV. Spencer is now part of a video game, because he loves video games. And this moment sucks. It really does. Like, the video game's like extremely cheap looking. It looks like an awful Sega game. Spencer's just like hopping around in this cheap, bad looking video game. Freddy's controlling him. Spencer has to like defeat his dad in the game, but it's not even like man, like the superhero scene in like part 5, I said that scene wasn't very good to me, like the execution, but man, like that scene deserves an Emmy award or some type of an award compared to this scene. And Freddy's just like, oh, great graphics, and it's just awful. I mean, like, oh, I hate it. Spencer does go flying into the real world, but Freddy's still controlling him via video game. So Spencer's literally just hopping around in the hallways going boing, boing, boing. And like he's like moving fast and it's like meow. This is like literally like a little kid's movie by this point. Goosebumps would not scoot this low. R.L. Stein would laugh in the people's face if they tried to make him do a scene like this. I can't think of a little kid's show that would allow this. Like Scary Tales to Tell in the Dark, I butchered the name of it, but I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. They would not do this type of scene. And I'm naming little kids' scary shows that used to happen in the 90s. I don't think they would have something as cheesy as Spencer hopping around in hallways going boing, boing, boing. But John Doe and Tracy, they somehow like go into the dream world. One, John Doe like asks her to knock him out, and then he goes instantly into the dream world, which I don't think that's how it works. But Tracy's like, yeah, I just like concentrated and I was able to join too. And it's like, you're breaking all the rules that has happened in this franchise, which I know the rules have been like kind of unstable anyways sometimes, depending what movie you're watching. But man, like this movie does it just awful. They're like, screw it, like let's just make him go in the dream world and try to like take all the stuff from Freddy. So they sneak up on Freddy, like take his controllers away. Yes, just like a kid's movie. And he's like, forgot the power glove. And then he makes Spencer go into like this little like tunnel, which like farts out his soul or something. And that's how Spencer dies. After this awful scene, John Doe, since he's in the dream world, like Dr. Maggie and Tracy, like they're trying to like drive him away. Freddy makes him like fall from the sky. I guess that's like something he likes doing to John Doe because John Doe doesn't like heights. But John Doe like pulls a parachute and like Freddy goes up to him, starts cutting the parachute loose, and John Doe's like, wait, you need me, like I'm your son. And like Freddy just kind of takes a moment. I kind of like it because it's like vintage evil Freddy. He's like, you're not my son, I just needed you to bring me my daughter. And then he cuts him loose from the parachute. He falls. In that one evil dark moment, it kind of gets undercut because then they have Freddy pull out the spikes like he's a character from the Looney Tunes and puts it right where John Doe falls, and then he falls on the spikes and dies. Basically, we find out Dr. Maggie is Freddy's daughter, and the little flashbacks we see, like that was her running around the backyard, seeing her dad as Freddy. He was playing with her. His wife like comes out of the little like cellar area. And Dr. Maggie, who her name was Catherine when she was a kid. I guess her name might still be Catherine. I don't know. But yeah, that like she finds all the like gloves and stuff that Freddy made. And Freddy was killing children in his house, even though in part 2 it says that factory. Again, like the whole backstory, it's But yeah, so they find out he's killing kids and all this stuff, so they take his daughter away. And Freddy's like, for revenge, I killed their kids. And it's like, wait, isn't that why they took Catherine away? Because you were killing the kids? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's their big reveal of, Freddy the dad doing evil stuff, getting his daughter taken away, and it led him on this evil path, even though the evil path is what made him go on the evil path, so it doesn't really make sense, so whatever. I will say Tracy's scene, Freddy enters her dream, he's playing her dad, which it kind of implies that the dad like sexually assaulted her, did awful stuff. Tracy like fights back, she beats him down, she's not afraid anymore. That was actually like a pretty good scene. Tracy gets the good character development, the like revenge arc in her dream, wakes herself up. Freddy's like, well, I couldn't beat Tracy, so I'm gonna attack Doc now. And he goes to Doc's dream, and Doc just like beats Freddy with a bat. Freddy ends up telling Doc that they can't kill him because they promised that he would be internal. And he goes, "Who's they?" And he's like, "The dream people, the dream demons." And Doc ends up grabbing like a piece of his sweater, wakes up, and he realizes that he pulls the sweater out. And Doc's like, "Wait, I got this great plan on how we can kill Freddy." And it's exactly what they've done in the past movies. They grab him, they bring him into the real world, and they kill him. That's the common way of killing Freddy. I think Nancy's the one who did it. Yeah, in the first one. We then get some special 3D glasses, which apparently makes us see Freddy's backstory. And, Freddy's killing his class hamster with a hammer. Freddy has an awful dad who is Alice Cooper, which is kind of cool they brought him on. It just sucks for Alice Cooper that he was brought on during this movie. We then get the sequence to where the warehouse was burning down with Freddy in it. And here's the dream demons. The dream demons look like semen. Yes, semen. The dream demons come up to him while the warehouse is burning, and they're like, "We know what you want." And Freddy's like, "I want it all!" And the dream demons are like, "Well, open up and we shall grant you that." And he's like, "Yes!" And that's how he becomes Freddy Krueger. Yeah, it's terrible. Maggie ends up completing her flashback story by finally seeing Freddy strangle his wife, which is Maggie's mom. And that's what Catherine or Maggie had buried deep in her conscious. So Maggie's now all mad. She's like, "Freddy killed my mom." And she's like, "I'm going to go in the dream world and I'm going to pull him out." And she does. She pulls him out. They have a I don't want to call it a terrible fight scene, but by this point in the movie, you just don't care. You're like, what? Like, I've watched so much bullcrap for so long. I just want this to end. And like, Maggie's like biting Freddy's face, breaking his fingers, throwing knives, pitting him against the wall. And they have him like in this cage so he can't escape. So like, Freddy and Maggie are in this cage. They're duking it out. She has him pinned with knives and stuff, and then Tracy's like, "Wait, here's some dynamite." Tracy throws lit dynamite to Maggie. This dynamite is already lit. Like, the fuse is running short. What a terrible idea. Like it almost would have been funny if she tossed the dynamite and it blew up as it like went to Maggie's hands, but it doesn't. Maggie takes it, sticks it in Freddy's chest, and you'd think she'd be like, "I gotta find out a way to get out of this cage." But no, she like takes a moment and like kisses Freddy, and she's like, "Happy Father's Day," or something corny to that moment. And Freddy's just like, "Kids." And how does Maggie escape the cage? Doc just rips the door off the hinges with his bare hands. Apparently, Doc is super strong, like Kincaid was when Kincaid was in his dream state, and he's able to just rip the door straight off the hinges. Freddy says "kids," and then he blows up, and Freddy's dead. Now, what is that? Is that too awkward of an ending to just say he's dead after that bomb? Yeah, so the movie said, they're like, we need something a little extra. We can't just end it with Freddy exploding. What's a good thing we can end this movie with? What's a nice feel-good moment for the audience, who have been waiting for this moment for Freddy to die off? What should we end it with? And they zoom in on Maggie, and Maggie smiles, and then she goes, "Freddy's dead." Credits roll. Guys, this is a bottom-of-the-barrel sequel. This is as bad as it gets. Like, this makes Dream Child and any other movie that's been made so far in this franchise just look golden. As I watched it, I actually said I miss Dream Child. I want to watch Dream Child again. And I wasn't that big on Dream Child when I did the rewatch, but man, oh man, it beats whatever this is. So if you're a fan of this movie, I apologize. I know I've been kind of brutal on it. I try to find the golden moments in movies because there's some movies I like that are controversial, but I haven't met too many people that are like, you know what, Freddy's Dead's pretty good. I haven't met too many people like that. So if you like this movie, please tell me in the comments and please tell me why. And I'm guessing if you like it, it's because you like just something goofy, a little lighthearted, and like you're okay with it not making sense. But like if you like the rest of the franchise, like I'm guessing you're not a big fan. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Freddy's Dead. I'd like to move on from this movie as quick as possible. If you're listening to this, and you want to hear all the future episodes, feel free to subscribe so you know when the next one comes out. Give this video a like, not because you love the movie, but because you love me. Not because maybe you like the channel and you want to help it out and get it out to other people. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you for listening to a review of a bad movie. And again, I want to move on from this movie as quick as possible. So, until next time.